Live, and here we are. We're back. Monifa, welcome back.
Hello, hello. Hi, Susie. We are here for Verve and Vision podcast. Guess
Great to
what,
see
y'all?
you.
So
My
good to see you.
sovereign spirit.
I'm so excited. Can
There's
you
a lot
tell?
happening.
I just want to tell everybody we got an interview. We got an interview with an amazing person. Her name is Dr. Elisa Beth Haransky-Beck, and she wrote this book called Enlivening Consciousness, and it's amazing.
Such a
We
great
will
book.
discuss it a little later.
I can't wait to dig into it with you. You can
So
see my
good.
computer screen. It's so shiny and new.
It
So much good
is.
conversation. If you are in our book club, you get to get the entire interview that we had with Dr. Elisa. Let
Yeah.
me We'll show
By
this
the
one.
way,
Right
guys,
about that here.
pretty much any size donation gets you into the book club. Basically, give us $1 and we'll give you whatever we have. We're easy.
Insight Circle.
We're easy. So I think it's totally worth it. And we have a lot of good stuff in there. We have our own personal notes and some things we've pulled down from our own research that we've applied, um, you know, as we go through the books and learn and apply it to our own lives. So really good stuff in there.
Yes. We're going to share a little bit of our interview today while we're in the show, but we love to start with the energies, and Monifa gives us a little sneak peek about what is coming. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the energies have been a lot lately. There's been a lot happening since we last joined you. So it's good to get a little forecast and know what to expect and how to keep our energy high, our perspectives high, to stay above the fray, to whatever definition of balance you resonate with, harmony, so that you can remain in harmony as much as
Harmony.
possible.
Let's stick with that word, harmony. So
Harmony.
what we are getting is more harmony. Susan's like, is it going to be better? And I'm like, better. It's all a matter of perception. And there's always the energy's always here to serve. So it's not like it's trying to make your life hard, right? I get it. And it's not trying to make your life hard. It's just part of what happens when we are learning something that we thought we knew already. But yeah, a lot of the big energy that create a lot of disruptive, antagonizing feelings, that antagonization and where that come from feeling, that was definitely a July thing. It was just like, I'm going to make you feel things. Number one, it was, sun and Cancer. Number two was like these energies that were highly combustible. So my birthday was last month, on the 15th, and that was just past the Mars and Uranus in Taurus. That was a conjunction. It's a hard conjunction, which I get for the rest of the year. Y'all only had to do like one full moon, so just get over it, okay? So,
Some people are really learning this lesson right now.
well, I'm always like, people are just like, oh, Cancer season's so difficult. And it's like, I like my whole life, right? My whole life is Cancer season. I have a sun and moon in Cancer and a Scorpio rising. So it's all water, all motion, all day, all the time. And with that explosiveness of that energy, like huge shift happened in my home that I was not expecting, right? Like it was a lot. And that was modeled obviously throughout society. There's like huge shifts of perception, huge shifts in how we feel like establishment goes. And so like it's not just y'all, we're all feeling it. So if that helps, I hope it helps a little bit. But also like we have this wonderful it can feel lighthearted if you let it, right? Because we have this wonderful new moon Leo feeling. And so, yay, sun in Leo. I know everybody's excited, whatever. And then
Cancer's done with Leo.
we're just like, honestly, like this is the first time I've been excited about Leo energy. But always before, it's always been like a hostile takeover kind of feeling. It's kind of like, and we're done with you, Leo, right? And we're just like, okay, well, not everything has to be shiny, Leo. Like, not everything all the time has to be loud and shiny, is all I'm saying. But, you know, perception, right? So for other people, this could just be a brightening of your space and feelings about what's possible. And the gene key is 33, and it's the shadow of forgetting, the gift of mindfulness, and then the city of revelation, right? So all this really asking us to do is pay attention. Like
Remember the
pay
lesson.
attention in our full light and awareness of, right? Like just don't just shine light on stuff that you want to see, right? You have to also shine light on the things that you'd like to forget, all right? But also, it's just that truth of humanity. Like we forget that we're wholly spiritual and we just happen to be using these bodies for this time, right? So it's just the remembering of that and being mindful that we have to serve our spirits as well as our bodies, you know? So it's not just about the fun, y'all. Don't get too excited because you need to pay attention. We were noticing all the threes this year. We've had threes up and down this year for full moons, new moons, right? And 33 is essentially a master number for three. So if we went the numerology route, still requires some masterfulness, right? It's not gonna just fall into your lap, this happy Leo feeling. You're gonna need to exert some wisdom here, even in this lightheartedness. So that's I think we don't want to get too excited about that.
Well, and I think that's really interesting too. You're talking about remembering and taking a deeper look. And I'm sure people are starting to hear buzz about this Mercury retrograde that we are going to be moving into in about a week or so. And which again is always a time to review, revisit, be cautious in our agreements. And so that feels like it's much aligned with that energy already in play.
Yeah, it's like a really good setup if you're paying attention, honestly, because you're coming in with this new moon that's asking you from Karen Curry Parker's perspective to retell your story. Don't just talk about how it went wrong, talk about why it makes you great, right? And like, let's pay attention to that side. Don't get stuck in the what happened to me syndrome, that victim feeling, right? And it'll start burgeoning into this enlightenment, so to speak, of what you're doing and what's available for you and how people can find you, which is the whole point of Leo energy, is like so that people know who you are, so they know to go to you for the thing, right? Whether that's love, it's not just about commerce, y'all, but that's part of it too, right? If you have a business. And then like on the gene key side, it's like it won't let you forget that this is true wisdom energy. Like this is the ring of trials. This is literally part of our heroes or Hera's journey. And so it's really about having that understanding that part of the things that we want to forget is the reason why we're here. And so if we keep forgetting that, then we'll keep missing the boat, right? So yeah, so that's good because like it's telling you that beforehand, and it's like get the story straight so we're on the right side of the perspective going into the Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde is going to be like, where's your input here? Where's your innovation? Where is your truth? Where is your service of community? Like how, what are you doing for us, right? And that's not somebody coming for you, but it's more of a like, this is why you're here. So if you're not doing the thing why you're here, then it might feel a little challenging, right? So that Mercury retrograde is just like, come on, y'all, like Let's get together, right? And then let's be clear. Let's talk about it until we're clear. Not just, that's the other thing. Mercury retrograde, people are like, I'm just going to stay inside. I'm not going to talk to anybody. And maybe that would normally work, but not right now. It's not going to work right now. Number one, we're in Leo season. Not going to work right now, right? Like, number two, it's just not the point of this retrograde. This retrograde is about reviewing how we're communicating so that we can be clear in who we are around others and how we serve, right, in the community. And so it's going to keep asking that of you, and it's going to keep telling you to say it until you get it right. That's the whole point of a retrograde. It's like, keep trying, review it, double check. Is that the right way to say it? Check again. Is that the right way to say it? Right? Like, okay, I tried it this way. It didn't work for that person. Then we try it this way on this person, right? Like try it out. Practice is really what retrograde is about. A lot of times they're like, don't do any major contracts. Well, if you don't know that this is the right way that you want to present, or you don't know that you want people to see you that way, then maybe you're not ready for the contract. Maybe you wait until you know that for sure before you start making terms around it and committing to stuff, right? So that's really that retrograde feeling, but it's really serving us because it's serving us going into the full moon, which the last part of the retrograde, the full retrograde, will be happening on the full moon. And that's the full moon in Aquarius. Again, the community, the new age. Who are you now? Not who were you 1,000 years ago? Like, who are you now? Yeah, you can reference the story, but it's only about what, as important as what it means for you now and who you're being now, right? And then it's kind of, this Aquarius energy is always about like identity, and identity is so close to that desire piece of, so that's the shadow, the gene key shadow here. So the gene key is 30, and the shadow is desire. The gift is lightness, and the city is rapture. Karen Curry Parker calls it passion. It's your passion, right? So essentially what we're doing is we're talking about like, what is that thing that lights you up, right? But if we're focused on the shadow side, the desire part is what you think will make you happy. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference. Like, desire is not here to make you happy. It's just a component of life to lead us along the purpose path. It really is not the thing in and of itself. It's just the thing that tells us if we're on or we're off, right? So it's good, but it's just, it's the reflection of energy. It's not the thing itself, right? And so if we get too focused on the reflection, then we're just chasing shiny objects, right? If we focus on the light, which is basically the why of why we want it, right? What does that make? Who does that make us, essentially? Like, how do we identify ourselves in this desire? And then how are we being that evidence of light for others? Right? Like being clear in ourselves, right? And so when we get there, then we can treat our desires lightly. It's like, oh yeah, it's like playing a game of, what do they call it? Pikachu, or no, that's not it. Pokemon. You're like, oh, it's over here. And then you just, you're following the game, but the fun is playing, right? The fun is, oh, somebody else found this one here, right? Oh, I'm the first here, right? That's the fun. And that's the point, not necessarily the shiny objects on the trail, right? And so that's kind of the feeling of that one. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
I like that. I like that. It's a lot about taking that opportunity to know ourselves. I'm sharing the link to Monifa's YouTube channel, because not only can you subscribe there to get notifications about Verve and Vision, but you can also see Monifa's videos where she goes deep into the energies. She looks at all of these gene keys as they're coming up, so we can get like a really full picture of what's going on. But I think that feels really good after coming out of some heavier and more chaotic energy. We're moving back into, okay, back to me. How do I step forward into this? How do I show up through this? And what brings light? Like what makes me feel lighter? And because again, the synchronicities and the timing and everything, as you're talking about these energies, looking into this month, getting clarity and having a finer vision of who we are and who we're speaking to all aligns so beautifully with our book that we're going to be talking about. So I think that, right? Like, are you feeling that too? Do you feel that energy of the book and this inspiration to reclaim our vision, our inner vision, the way we take in everything in the world? It all feels like, yes, like it finally, after some chaos and don't leave home without a helmet, I feel some, okay, yes, I can get behind that. I can play with this energy a little more so than it has been feeling recently.
Well, I mean, the book is literally called Enlivening Consciousness. So that might have something to do with mindfulness. Something. I don't know. Like, we've been having these magical correlations all year, so we can't be too surprised. But yeah, like mindfulness, like this is about the consciousness already available to us. And I think there's like the component, like the vision that allows you to follow that path of mindfulness, but also that it develops because we are conscious, and the relationship there and that ability to find the gem by having that experience. And that's another part of the work, is the movement and experiencing the sight at a new level of awareness, right? Our sight and our visual functions, and so many good things. We're not even close to bringing like all the good stuff in. I didn't. Am I bringing this on there? Did you think of any essences for our moons?
Oh, I think, oh, that's a great question. The first one I want to think of is a flower essence that helps you bring in the light. Mustard is a great one. If you've been feeling heavy lately, if you've been struggling with depression and news has been heavy lately, mustard is a great one for bringing in the light. Also, Serrato and Scleranthus are beautiful Bach flower essences for feeling more confident and trusting your intuition, your inner compass. And so those feel really aligned right now too, to say, yes, I know who I am. What's that?
How do you spell
Serrato is Cerato, and Scleranthus Scleranthus. 5th grade spelling bee champion right over here. You didn't know about that about me. Now you do.
I could guess.
Siri can
totally
never spell these
wrong.
things.
I'm sure I spelled both wrong, but it's closer than you would have otherwise. So, like, for those who are listening, you have your own version. For those who are watching, you can like put it in and see how Google corrects it for me.
Yeah, she does. She does correct us.
Yeah, I don't know. I just went with my intuition after a while. I'm like, I can't follow that. Yeah, but yeah, so I love that. So you're saying the Serrato and Speranthus they help you to find more of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. To trust that inner knowing and to show up fully as yourself. Agrimony is a great flower essence for dropping that facade or the game face and being authentically expressing yourself. Agrimony is a great one for that too.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Fabulous. Yes. So yes. And I think that is exactly what we were moving into for the book, because it really was this understanding that our visual development is right alongside our personality development. It's right alongside of how we are perceiving our world, and why it's important to understand that eyesight and how it develops is a major part of how we are experiencing life. And so we're going to get into some yummy stuff here because it's such a reflection of the moons in that regard. It's just like, desire is just telling you how you're experiencing life. And the mindfulness piece is like being conscious that you're just part of the experiencer. You're not just the eyes or whatever, right? It's just the feedback that's coming to the higher self, right? So anyways, but I think that's going to be so fun, so fun. And we have some clips for you guys. I think Susie said that already.
Yeah. And I was wondering, because we're talking about that experience and integrating vision and how we relate with the world, should we go ahead and start off with a little clip?
I think so.
Okay. Let's lead off with first one of our shorter clips. We have a couple. One is pretty long, so we have to manage our time well. And let me re-cue this back to the beginning. But this first clip, Dr. ElisaBe explores our relationship and the way we engage with the world and how that helps us to develop our vision. So let's cue this
life, the symbiosis, the synchronicity, just being open to that. And that is what natural eyesight improvement is about. That is what healing, wellness, and health is about. That is what decreasing stress is about. Coming back into your parasympathetic or relaxing part of your nervous system, right? That's what it seems like, you're both doing and modeling in your work.
Well, yeah, there's just so many tie-ins because everything's connected. And so it does happen that we continuously move into these conversations of somatic environment, community, what it looks like to be vision-oriented, vision and a visionary, right? And just from your description of even like that developmental process of using our eyes to, oh, that's what we want, and the way we think of as visionary, and how that leads us, and that the vision leads, right? Who said that quote? The pain pushes until vision pulls. And it's always been a profound statement to me, but in this context, I think it's very apropos.
I'm curious about who said that, because what I have found through the developmental movement work with Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, one of my dear teachers, now Eleanor Criswell Hanna and the late Thomas Hanna, is that the yield underneath the push is equally important. And then we reach and pull, right? And you see this in early childhood development. We're yielding. You can do it now. Can you yield into the chair you're sitting in? Or if you're standing and walking while listening to this podcast book interview, can you yield the soles of your feet into the earth before you push and then reach out into space? What does that do? How does that shift your embodied awareness, right? Pulling is one quarter of it. Pulling, it's uncomfortable. If you go walk into a room and somebody walks over to you and they're immediately trying to pull you over to them, you don't want to go over there. You want to go, leave me alone. I'm going to go over there. Because they weren't embodied. They weren't aware of themselves so that they could make space for you.
Yes, that's so true. There's always that element of beingness that has been left out of so much of the conversation, and that like yielding, I think, is so much of that beingness, of that experience. Yeah.
See how perfectly aligned it is? It's being ourselves. And that, pulling is actually a deterrent. And when we're not confident and clear about what we're creating and who we are, we operate out of fear, and we try to pull what we want into us, as opposed to showing up and radiating and letting ourselves be magnetic and drawing it to us.
Yeah, it was so beautiful, that turnaround of like just the pure pulling to allowing us to shift into this truth of what's being, right? And yeah, so I it's so fun because it's so correlated to everything that we talk about here, and I'm so glad that she's our first interviewer. She's really quite perfect.
It's so aligned. It's so wonderful. And I love the whole book. The whole magnificent Enlivening Consciousness book is such an invitation, because just as the subtitle, Deepening Your Journey through Vision, Movement, Nutrition, Nature, and Spirit, all of these components, as you would expect, a functional doctor, a holistic doctor, is inviting us to not get really rigid in what we understand relates to our vision, but to understand that the way we move through the world, what we put into our bodies, the nourishment, emotional as well as in terms of the food that we consume, all of that plays a part in how we see and perceive.
Absolutely. That's why I love this quote from the book that's in one of the sidebars, which is, vision is emergent, vision is movement. And it was like I could literally just insert voice into the vision segment. And it just reminds me so much of why I fell in love with Dr. Elisa's work to begin with, right? That this emergence, that consciousness is emerging and is happening through our perception. Like, we're here to perceive, to evolve consciousness. That's that emergent feeling to me. And then the vision is movement piece, is that you can't have emergence without movement. And I think that's the attempt that's been happening over the kind of linear perspective of a patriarchal society, is this very much like, this is one, this is this, and like looking at things in static moments instead of how it's acting in the liveliness, or the, life is living, it's movement. And so you can't look at something static and expect to understand it in its full capacity. And what's so beautiful about that is that literally she says that in the book, that vision requires movement, because when we are incorporating that understanding visually to our brain, so the brain like picks up the signal from the eye, and the brain is seeing it in pictures, but the pictures will fade if we only have one picture, right? So it actually has to have a picture of movement of one thing to another thing, and then the environment around that thing, and then like it goes through all the pictures to determine the meaning, right? And I think of that so much when I'm talking about voice the same way. I talk about vowels that way, because vowels will fade. If we think that, it's going to stay forever, then the sound will fade if you try to hold on to one vowel or one picture, right, of what we think something is. And so we need we need all of the versions. We need the dynamic. If we not, then the immediacy leaves, the impact leaves, the precision leaves, the focus leaves, right? And so it's so cool. We're like soul sisters.
Oh yeah. I mean, the entire interview, we came in at just over an hour. And then I think when the interview was done, we still stayed in the room and continued talking for at least another hour and a half, because there's so much more to this conversation. And the book is an invitation, and ElisaBe has a program that she's going to be sharing this fall, and you can learn more. There's information on her website, enliveningconsciousness.com. But it's all this information to continue this exploration, to continue knowing yourself better, to being curious about the world and how we relate with the world, and not, settling for foregone conclusions. one of the interesting parts of the conversation we had, and both of us are lens wearers. I tend to wear contacts because I get frustrated with the reflection on the video. But I started wearing glasses at a very young age. I don't know about you, Monifa. Did you as well?
Not super young. I think it was just in my teens, like maybe my early teens, I think is when I had my first pair. Yeah.
Yes. And it was really interesting. We had the opportunity to kind of take the conversation to that commonly accepted, oh, once you're in glasses, you're going to be in glasses forever. Or as you age, you're going to have to use readers because everybody requires assistance in reading and seeing clearly as we age. Aging limits our vision, is this conception.
Yeah, we have this amazing clip where we talk about having that visit to the optometrist. I'm a little nervous that I don't want to repeat what's in the clip. So
we'll go ahead and play this, and then alrighty. Here's another clip with Dr. Elisa Beth Haransky-Beck.
I went in to get my eyes done. They were very specific. They said, "Oh, you'll need reading glasses and within the year or something like this," and that they had to up my prescription quite a bit because it'd been a while since I've been in as well. And I was just like, that sounds so much like a literal prescription, like a drug prescription. So basically, I'm more dependent on glasses, and I'm going to be even more as a result of what you're giving me right now. Or is that just part of? I didn't know if he was just talking about because I'm older or what, but I just was not okay with that. That you're a doctor, you're supposed to be helping me, and like now you're telling me that it's getting worse, but you're not telling me how to fix it or what to do about it. Right? Like that's what I have a problem with a lot of Western medicine techniques.
Right. And that's how we've been trained. We've been trained, whether or not you're a doctor or a therapist or a teacher or whatever it is that you are, we all came up through this educational system, which is, it's patriarchal. It's you get in the line, you stay in the line, you don't deviate. And this is the answer. And when you take the test and get an A on it, that's all you need to know. Well, guess what? The lines are not straight. We develop sporadically. And guess what? The more you deviate from the mainstream, the more you learn. It's not the easiest route, right? Those of us that are the luminaries, the visionaries, the forward thinkers, it's not the easiest route, but it is the wisdom route. It is the fun route. It is the route that allows you to be your curious self. And again, I asked the question, what are we doing here? And one of my teachers, Brian Siddhartha Ingle, says, where is the health? It's inside. And are we taking the time? I mean, I could give you a more conventional answer to that eye doctor question, which is neuro-developmental functional behavioral optometrists do some extra testing. They first rule out eye disease and they'll check your eyeglass prescription, but what they will do is they will give you a prescription that is more of a preventative prescription. And if they're really into natural eyesight improvement, they'll give you a set of lenses that will help you be able to play with the blur and strengthen the integrity of your entire visual system, brain, mind, spirit, and body. And just like I'm so excited, one day I'm going to have you do a testimonial for my website, enliveningconsciousness.com, Monifa, that you were inspired to start moving around just while you were reading the book. You picked that up and you kept doing it, and you probably won't forget it now forever because you'll understand that it can transfer to the computer screen.
Right. And that's just one of the little takeaways in the book is, Elisa incorporates these movement breaks, these vision breaks, and they work all the time. They enhance our entire lives when we start integrating more movement breaks, more vision breaks, letting our eyes go to the far distance and playing with the range of focus, or letting our eye, focus change, move around our field of vision. Relaxing all of those muscles, not going with the strong eye motion, but being more gentle and curious with the explorations.
Yeah, it was really fun because just having those gentle reminders throughout the book. And then when we got to the movement section, I was like, okay, let me try some stuff out while I'm doing this. Multitasking, because that's what I love to do. But like, also, it was the more I did it, the more I wanted to do. It was fun. I felt like I was going back to my childhood, remembering the way I used to like read books. I was never stagnant reading a book. I was moving and I was like, enjoying the inner visual of what I was reading. I read a lot of fiction, right? So I was creating my own world. It was fun. That was a reason why I got so attached to reading, right? Now that I think about it, I'm like, why do we feel like we have to sit people down in a corner to read? But anyways, one of the things that I picked up in the book from that understanding of what it means to be like an optometrist, like a traditional optometrist, and then the difference between what she does is a functional optometry, is that she's actually working to correct the problem, and uses several tools to do that. And you can find out more about that in the book as well. But it's a holistic perspective, what she spoke about, right? What other thing that I really love that she helped us include us into in the optometry world is that when they're doing that thing, when they're flipping back and forth, we're like, is it this one or is it this one? And then you see one and it's like so precisely clear. You're like, oh, I can see. And then they like shift it back to blurry and you're just like, oh, what happened to the one where I could see? But she's saying that they were finding the estimate between the two eyes. And so they're looking for something that won't have them, I guess, too skewed or too different, because that would also shift your perception of space, of like where you're stepping and all that kind of stuff, which glasses do anyways. But you have to adjust every time you take them off to put them on. Uh, and and the contact lenses as well, which is why I wear glasses now, because Elisa told me that I should play with the blur. And I'm like, I know about that because I know about playing with edges. I tell people to play with the edges all the time with the voice. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. I will play with like, where does it start to blur? I can do that, right? And so yes, I think there's just so many yummy little tidbits in here of just understanding how our vision impacts like how we're experiencing our life and how we can work with it the same way we would work with any part of our body to heal and to come into more wholeness. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think the insights that are just kind of interspersed throughout the book are really fun to play with also. And everybody loves personality tests, right? Typing, am I more like this or less like this? I mean, if you enjoy Monifa's energy forecasts, we love human design and gene keys, and she plays with the energy codes and all of these insightful practices that look at the entire being. And just a couple of short excerpts from the book, some things that make you more curious. Elisa explores the tendencies of myopic or nearsighted people and their personalities, and hyperopic or farsighted people and their personalities, right? Myopic people can have tendencies to be well-adjusted, determined and following through. They focus well on the tasks at hand, right? It makes sense. When you're thinking about nearsighted, they may be more likely to be really focused on what's in front of them and kind of lose some things in the far future, in the periphery. And so it's interesting to think about what we generally classify as just a way of seeing, and getting curious about how much of that carries over into our personality and our ways of being in the world.
Yes, so much that, that I was feeling into both of these, and I was just like, wow, that's so true. That I definitely have that, of where I like to focus on what's in front of me. And I really dislike when people are like trying to take me too far in left field, which is hard for me, like, because I like to incorporate all the things and connect all the things. But there's certain personalities, my husband, that drive me crazy because they just stay in the left field and they keep traveling until they lose you, because that's their purpose in life. And it's just like, I have a hard time with that. I get very uncomfortable. And like the how do you say it?
Hyperopic?
Hyperopic looks into the future, that big picture thinking. And that's where they just live out there, right? I'm just like, okay, like I get it. I'm a visionary. I get it. And bring it home. Bring it home. What are we doing right now? Like, that's my whole thing. It's like, what are we doing right now? This present moment. What are we doing? You know, like that's how I'm only the only reason I'm looking at the vision is so I can get to the right thing for now, right? That's kind of my focus.
We also had a lot of fun in the interview noticing how many analogies and metaphors refer to vision and seeing and bringing into focus or being blurry and that sort of thing. And it's true, like it just permeates our lexicon, really, because vision is one of our primary 5 senses. You know, it might be the first to develop. We explore that a little bit too in other conversation with Elisa. We'll share. I think we're still doing pretty good on time, so we've got the luxury.
Really well.
And
well, I wanted to do. Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes,
because I want to functionally use the book to do the reminder of interruption. So look away from the screen, you guys. I'm channeling Mr. Mrs. Elisa right now, Dr. Elisa right now, where you can look away. Like, am I doing it right? No, I'm not.
There it is.
Breathe, blink, be present. So look away from the screen and breathe deeply, right? However feels good to you. And blink your eyes. I'm going to take my glasses off. Blink your eyes. Look maybe in a different place. Blink your eyes. Breathe. And be present. It's a beautiful reminder that happens throughout the book. That's one of the reasons why I was able to be present enough to start feeling into my body and start moving as it felt good as I was reading. So I wanted to incorporate that into our moments here.
Thank you. Yes. And I really enjoyed that. Was something that Elisa brought to the conversation too. She took us outside. We got to, although, you know, we're watching the camera and I'm at mission control and moving the focus of the screen, but I'm also watching the wind blow through the branches in the trees and letting my eyes kind of soften their focus and take them out of that, you know, narrow focus, binocular vision. So much to learn about in this book. Such a great invitation. Whether or not you're somebody who considers yourself to have vision challenges, vision is such an important aspect. And she does speak to, in our conversation and in the book, people who are unsighted and how vision is still really important, you know, because it is the place at which, you know, there aren't many ways in which our nerves interact directly with the outside world. They're the communicators that carry signals and send impulses. But our optic nerve has this little porthole to engage with the world. And I mean, that's just the extraordinary
complex,
science
right?
and design that blows my mind. It's just...
Because even if she was talking about, even if the eyeball itself is missing, right, the complex to receive is still there. And it's essentially how we have like a visual imagination, right? Like it doesn't necessarily you have to see it for you to imagine something. And I've heard people who have challenges with their eyesight talk about that they have vivid dreams and that they, you know, some of them see a lot of color, some don't. And like everybody's a little different. But yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't see in dreams or in their head. It just means that they might not see what you're seeing, right? So I thought that was super interesting as well. Yeah. So many good things in here. Because if you think about it, like this is exactly why it's so important to have and in my opinion, like it keeps coming back to that. But some people say that you don't have to be vision or purpose led. But I'm like, depends on how you're defining vision and purpose, because you don't necessarily have to have a world changing, I'm going to be a Madonna vision, right? For it to be a purpose, right? But I do like, you have to have a reason to get up in the morning, like at minimum, your family and your children, or your willingness to like chip in, or somebody that doesn't have it as easy as you, or to go find out if somebody will chip in for you, but that because you're having it kind of hard. Like, so we are here to be in life. And so if we're just ignoring that the part that is leading us to be in life, right? Like, why do I choose to get up? Why do I choose to go outside? Why do I choose to go talk to this person? Like, it has to have some shape and relevance to your life, I think. That's my opinion.
Yes. And you're taking me back to our previous book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, when he's talking about, your zone of genius doesn't have to be a world-changing vision, and like Monifa saying, your passion and purpose doesn't have to be to have influence and impact globally. He describes in the book, some people's zone of genius is helping people feel heard and understood. And you can do that working at a customer service desk or on a telephone, right? Like, you don't have to set a course and have like huge, profound visions and dreams and goals. You can just show up and be your most fully expressed version of yourself and do what you do so inherently well that you lift someone else up in the course of their day. And that is you showing up and being fully expressed and realized. And that has really deep power. And so, vision doesn't have to be like earth shattering, but it's profound, and it really, it deserves that attention and that curiosity and that exploration to find out what it means for us and how we can make the most of it.
Yeah, and what it means to us, right? Like, and this is another part of the book that I was really excited about, is that she talks about how emotions can have a lot to do with how one sees and perceives. And it's so true. It's a lot, again, of what we're talking about in the moons, right? That mindfulness piece where you can see what you want to see, or you can see what is. And a lot of our emotions, like fear, can shut us down to what is, so that because we're just hyper focusing on what we're afraid of, right? And so it's like, we can expand back into that consciousness of mindfulness. If there's no immediate, like I call it a tiger, if there's no immediate tiger that will jump at any second, then we are not in a space where we have to so hyper focus that we leave the rest of our knowingness, our awareness out of the picture, right? And so, like, thinking about that, like, how does your vision, whether, again, doesn't matter what is meaningful to you, matters like why it's meaningful to you. How's your feeling about that vision, about what you see when you get up in the morning? How does that change the way you perceive your life? How does that even reflect back to how you feel about your life and who you are and what you're doing every day? Are you fully excited? Are you fully awake and present and willing to be you? Or are you like, oh no, I'm me today again? And that's a good kind of question to see if, like, do you know your purpose? Do you know what you do well? Do you know that thing in the big leap of what makes it a vital life for you, and why you're here to make it a vital life for others,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Shall we play our last clip while we've got time? Then we have a few minutes to discuss it before we wrap up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Here's our last clip from Dr. Elisa Beth Haransky-Beck. If you want the whole interview, which you do, clearly, it was a fantastic conversation.
It really was.
Check out our book club. I'll put that link back up here in just a minute. And we're going to get back together next Thursday, a week from today, same time, 1 p.m. Pacific. There's a Zoom link for our book club members. We get together and we talk about the book. It's available through Balboa Press. and the concepts that are in it, and we continue the conversation over there. So if you're curious,
we'll bring up the topics if you haven't received your book yet. So that's not,
yes,
don't worry, come anyways. And we will talk about the topics. We know what they are. And so we'll talk about it. And then you get to dive in even deeper because the exercises are really well spelled out over a series of pages, especially the movement exercises. There's just like, it'll take you through a process of movement that is really expansive. So come along and we'll get you started until your book gets here.
Alrighty, and here we're going to drop in on the conversation where Elisa's talking about our visual development and how it goes along with literally our neurological development. Obviously, as we discussed, our eyes are nerves expressed outside of our bodies, but how it all fits together. Really, really profound part of our conversation here.
Section of my book, Enlivening Consciousness, Deepening Your Journey through Vision, Movement, Nutrition, Nature, and Spirit. I really emphasize in the book our journey, not only in utero, how did our mother move, but once we're out in the new world, outside of the womb, what are we allowed to do? And Monifa, it wasn't just your mom and dad. It's an epidemic now of parents, caregivers not allowing children, babies, particularly in the first year of life, to be on the ground and to be connected to Mother Earth, Mama Gaia, and to move through the developmental movement patterns that underlie vision development. There's a whole epidemic of devices that are used, bouncers, walkers, swings, and adults want children to sit up right away or be in verticality. And we're not designed to develop that way. Our visual systems develop in the first year of life through our movement in contact with the ground. And what do I mean by that? If you look at a baby on the ground, either on their belly or their side or their back, you can notice how connected and fluid they are and how much they how much they're part of the surface. And so it's really important for babies. Allow your child, encourage your child to be on their stomach, their sides, their back. Place them on your body and get down on the floor with them. Look at them at eye level, directly across from them, and create the basis of communication.
So is it like more about just the being connected with the environment? Because I remember part of the book where you're like try to leading your movement with your eyes. And is it more natural to do it that way, where you let your eyes tell you where you're going next, or?
So one way to think of it would be that vision, eyesight, directs movement. We see something, the baby sees something, and then goes there. The baby can see, a person can see generally a lot further than they can smell or taste or touch. So when we're on our bellies, we have the opportunity to develop our neck supporting head reflex. If we're always put in a vertical position as a baby, we're not developing that. When we're on our belly, we develop trunk tone, the tone of our muscles, of our neuromuscular system. And the same goes for on our back. We develop the integration to be able to start to coordinate our eyeball movement. And
Wow.
we develop our strong sense of verticality from head to tail. You'll see babies doing yielding and pressing into the earth with their hands, their bellies, their torsos, their pelvis, their legs. You'll see babies rocking gently back and forth. And then when they start to creep and pull themselves along the ground, and then when they push up into crawling and they feel the sensation of their knees and lower limbs on the surface of the ground, the contralateral or cross body patterns that are developing in the gross motor system underlie binocular vision and crossing the midline in tracking for reading and writing and functioning.
That's so cool.
And one of the core body imbalance patterns comes from sitting at a desk with our arms forward. And what you're making me think of, my light bulb moment here, is as a baby, when we push up off the floor, we're strengthening our backs. And sitting at a desk with our arm forward, our back is getting so weak and stretched, and our front body is so tight. And we can't break out. We don't have that strength to balance the tightness that we are creating in the front of the body. And so the movement exercises that you describe in the book, and you're so wonderful and give that inspiration and say it's never too late to go back and recultivate these patterns. And I told you before we started recording, I've been enjoying rolling around on the floor, and that's exactly it. You give us the yoga exercises that replicate this: baby cobra and moving into cobra, and lizard and swimming on the floor, and all this contralateral movement that is like what our bodies have been aching to come back to.
Right, right. And it's
So true.
simple and it's profound.
Yes, it really is. It's so interesting how, like, kind of doing this awareness work and especially somatic awareness work, how it just brings you into more aliveness, right? Which is literally the name of the book, y'all. Enlivening. I say these things on accident, and that's why I'm constantly cracking myself up because
We do. We just love cracking ourselves up. We're geniuses over here. But I had so much fun with that as she's describing the way that babies develop and in the importance of every phase of development, from tummy time on the floor, just moving their eyes, to pushing up, to rocking back and forth. And the exercises that she shares in the physical section, child's pose and cat cow and moving through. We have yoga postures for all of these movements because they really are fundamental. They reconnect you with your center line from your head to your tail, as she said. And it's so fundamental to reconnect with that. And it's not too late. So we can still go back and reclaim that embodied physicality.
yeah, I saw Susie's face light up when she was talking about being on the belly and then on the side, because she knows how the body is reacting to that muscularly and in the tissues, and what's so yummy about that for the body and the experience of our somatic life, right? And what it translates to when we have a little bit of that resistance that builds the resilience of our tissues and our muscles. So I can't let you get away without us talking a little about like how relevant it is to all of your work and that resilience piece, and how this ability to spend the time to be present enough to be on the floor and get this like felt experience, how that changes the ability to shift and perceive stress and all of that.
Yes, I lit up when I saw that in the book, when she talks about the value of resilience. And as Elisa says, reintroducing and habituating resilience facilitates our optimal level of efficiency and peak performance, moment to moment and long term. And it's so true because we tend to think someone is resilient or they're not. We don't really think about how we can cultivate resilience and how important it is to have it, because life serves up a lot and we don't know what's coming next. But if we at our core are resilient and we trust that we have this resilience, then we're not afraid of the unknown that's coming for us. Whether that is accepting a stressor as it shows up in our life and not letting that completely knock us out of homeostasis because we're reeling from the emotional or the physical impact, because we have developed some physical resilience in nourishing our bodies with quality food and adequate rest and movement, and movement metabolizes those hormones of stress. Like those 3 foundations of health that everybody keeps coming back to, it's for a reason, because they foster that resilience that serves us moment to moment, but it also supports that long-term health and vitality, which we all want. We don't like to think about the future because life is pretty hard right now. And how can I manage what is coming years down the road? Well, this is how, by making the most of the moment that we're in and cultivating this resilience and trusting that is giving us the tools and the strength to handle whatever else is going to be coming down the line. And I think that confidence and strength really helps us to meet challenges, to meet change, to meet Mercury retrograde in Leo, showing up all shiny when we're like, oh my gosh, I just need to sit on my sofa for a week and like take in everything that's just unfolded in the world. Like, we don't get to call a timeout. So as we cultivate this resilience, we're like, okay, and
Yeah, well, you said it, right? Because that fear, like if we're looking to the future in fear, that is the creation of stress. Yeah. So can we shift the body? Like that's why I like to go to the body first. That's why I love somatic methods and this amazing movement as vision, right? Which we're having again. Oh yeah, that she's doing this amazing 3-month class that's going to help us kind of take the information we're getting from the random doctors and apply it to a more functional setting and do something about it ourselves. We're all about sovereignty here. So we're going to, take our vision into our own hands with the help of Dr. Elisa here. And yeah, and so what it does is that it shifts your beingness, how you are feeling in your body, and so that you can see something different, not just that the future is scary, right? That it's also a possibility. There's also things that could be exciting about the future. It's like the same thing we're talking about in that willingness to be up in the morning, because we understand that we're here to vision and experience and move and right. So if we can take some of this awareness practice and apply it to our mornings or our days and throughout the day, remember these are breaks. We have the breath, blink, be present, breathe, I think is where she has it, but breathe, blink, and be present. If we do that throughout the day, then we can have this new level of resilience, of seeing the future as possibility and love and light and sparkles the way that I like. So I like sparkles, okay? Yes, so I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see you guys. I want you to come to the book club meeting. You can come, you don't necessarily have to join to come, by the way. You don't necessarily have to pay $1 to come to the book club. You can just arrive and we can have this conversation. And then, yes, if you know how enriching this work is and have an extra moment to delve into it and make it a part of your life, then we welcome any contribution. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. This was so much fun. Thank you, Dr. Elisa Beth Haransky-Beck, for being our first author interviewee. We loved the conversation. We came away so inspired. Obviously, we're still like getting gems and aha moments. And we're excited to continue the conversation next Thursday in the book club. And then we will be back on the final Thursday in August. Gasp. That's what the next month is. We're almost into August. We'll be back the final Thursday with our next live episode and book announcement forthcoming.
We're filling into it, folks. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for joining the conversation. Lovely to have you with us live. And we definitely want comments. So drop those comments and we can circle back and answer any questions. And we look forward to seeing you next week in the book club. Until then, take good care.
Good times.